Okay, now it's time to install the rod holders. You'll note we ship with a little orange sticker. It has an L and an R for left and right. You want to make sure that it's pretty idiot-proof. The groove where your rod seats is facing down and backwards. And again, the sticker on here for the right one forces you to install it in the proper fashion. All you have to do in this case is take a pair of pliers and your number 2 screwdriver and just insert through the hole and tighten the nut on the bolt using the pliers. And you'll repeat that same step on the other support. Now that the rod holders are installed, it's time to install the X bracing, which will install on the rear supports for the leaning post. What they will do is provide lateral support to the leaning post. Right now, you'll notice the leaning post will oil can back and forth. So what we're going to do is visually move the leaning post back and forth and get it where we like it. And again, it's not critical. It's off a little bit, but it's just a visual thing. Once we have it centered, then we're going to go ahead and install the X bracing. Now when you go to install the X bracing, you'll notice there's a pre-drilled hole about 2 inches down from the top of the leaning post. That's where the top end of the X bracing will go. And make sure you don't install it outside the rod holders. Obviously you want to install it in an X pattern. So when you put the top screw in, leave the X bracing on the inside between the 2 rod holders. Now I'm going to recheck the leaning post to make sure visually it's nice and straight with the kayak. And I'm going to take my marker, I'm going to swing the supports into position, put a mark right on the center through the pre-drilled hole. Now I'm going to drill 9/64" holes at those locations and secure the X bracing. I'll switch to my number 2 screwdriver bit and install the screws where I just drilled. Okay, now that the X bracing is installed, it's time to install the tackle box bracket. The tackle box bracket actually installs right at the intersection of the X bracing. What you'll need for this step are the 3 number 6 bolts and nuts. And what you'll do is take one of the bolts, stick it through the pre-drilled hole at the top of the tackle box bracket, and that ultimately will be the bolt that goes through the intersection of where the X bracing makes its center point. Now I'm going to drill a 9/64" hole right at the intersection, and it's not critical if you're off a little bit one way or the other. It helps if you support the back X bracing with one hand. while you're drilling. So now I'm going to drill a 9/64" hole. And there's the hole. Okay, now we've hung the bracket using the bolt, and I'm going to put the nut on the back, securing it with the screwdriver and pliers. Just snug it right up. Now I'm going to center the bracket vertically, just visually again, just getting it kind of referencing off the X bracing. And then I'm going to drill through the bracket and through the X bracing 2 more spots to form a little triangle to hold the bracket obviously from rocking in position. So I'll go ahead and drill those now. Now I'm going to insert the second bolt in to hold the bracket in place before I drill the third one. That'll keep it from shifting while I'm drilling the third hole. Now I'll drill the third hole, install the third bolt, and the bracket installation will be complete. There you have it. Okay, the final 2 steps in the installation of the leaning post are installing the paddle keeper and the drink holder. They can be installed on the left side and right side, or vice versa, depending on your preference. The holes are pre-drilled for the paddle keeper. The drink holder does not need any holes. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to install the paddle keeper on the left side, and that's simply pushing the bolt through the hole, put the nut on, tighten it down with your screwdriver and pliers. And this is a friction operating device, so you want it so it doesn't flop, it stays kind of in position. You can always retighten it later if need be. Now, using my number 2 drill bit, number 2 Phillips, I'm going to loosen up the back of the drink holder, pliers holder, and I'm going to install that on the right side. And that's just a friction, works on friction. And we'll spin it around into position. And there's a drink holder and pliers holder. And now the leaning post installation is complete. We'll move on to the pontoon system.